Chapter 353. Did your highness perhaps know not only about Tain but also about them already? Kishir responded only with an inscrutable smile instead of a direct answer. In Pruel's eyes, tension, admiration, and trust simultaneously flashed by. I see. I think it would not be helpful if I knew too much, so I will not ask further. If you have any tasks for me, please tell me at any time. The intelligence of Duke Paleta was indeed remarkable. Who would have imagined that Duke Paleta, ridiculed by the nobles as merely a pretty face, was concealing his true character? Hiding oneself briefly in front of strangers is easy, but to maintain it for years among those who had been observing one for a long time was nearly impossible. After acquiring the ability to shapeshift, Pruel, who had been practicing not to be suspected in the guise of others, knew how complicated and difficult it was. And Duke Paleta had accomplished this and was still doing so. The fact that more people were cautious of the Emperor in the background rather than Duke Paleta, who had come to the forefront even after the Apeto incident, was evidence of this. Could there be a weapon as dangerous and robust as a sword that doesn't appear threatening? Indeed, his eye for selection has nothing but wrong. Pruel felt simultaneous deep relief and rare excitement. Patting his younger sibling's small head, who was eating with a pitter-patter noise. Those are wise words, but I understand one thing. There are many who deeply regret the deeds committed by Duke Tain for reasons other than yours. Blind rage does not discriminate, so it might become dangerous if the fact that you are here and your identity becomes known. It's good to gather information, but try to stay away from the house of Baron Wilhelm as much as possible. Nahan himself would attack another awakener unless provoked, but his colleagues and the opposition might not do the same. I understand. Pruel's expression had become even more resolute. I will have to warn Napoleon to be more careful as well. Things will continue like this for a while, but until Baron Wilhelm himself comes looking, I intend to be a person who knows nothing. Therefore, I entrust you with understanding the situation of the main building and the Tain household. Leave it to me. While the two were conversing, the cat that had finished its meal first jumped down from its chair. Shortly after, Idir saw a soft tuft of reddish-brown fur lying under his ankle. Napoleon seemed to have liked the quietness by his side all along. Napoleon, it's time to go. As Pruel stood up from his seat and called his sibling, the cat opened its eyes. I will contact you as soon as there are any changes. Please take your time to look at the book I gave you later. After Pruel left, Kishir opened the book he had gifted him. Inside the book, exactly 4 pages were folded at the corners. A building of the security management team that is famous for a huge dungeon leading to the 3rd underground floor, but there are rumors of a hidden dungeon beneath it. Courage Street, which once had a dense population of nobles but gradually became a commercial center and the common people's area. The northern wall ruins left as a space to escape from monster attacks. The famous early Tain Duke's residence, now almost unused but preserved for its historical value. It is how it is. I never knew there was a hidden area in the security management team's dungeon. The rest seem worth checking out as well. Perhaps that's what we must do. However, it's this place called Courage Street that I'm talking about. Kishir muttered as he looked down at the folded page of the book. Today, the explosion occurred at the Red Deer Consortium building, and the address was Courage Street. So, we have already visited 2 places. Yiddir recalled the Red Deer Consortium building he had previously visited. He hadn't examined the surroundings thoroughly while inspecting the upper level, but he vaguely remembered that there were quite a few buildings closed even during broad daylight. That was one of the characteristics of the entertainment district where the commoners spent their nights. Entertainment district. Commander, do you know exactly where the entertainment district is? Where Baron Wilhelm has reportedly increased the number of personal patrol? Why do you ask? Despite questioning, Kishir immediately recalled the information and answered. From what I saw when the report letter came in the morning, I think it was a place called Lemlin Street. How far apart are Courage Street and Lemlin Street? Do you think the two places are close? There were quite a few buildings near Red Deer Consortium that seem to operate at night. Entertainment districts are usually closely related, so I think we need to find out. Very well, it's simple to find out. Kishir immediately pulled a card, called in a servant from outside. I heard that both Courage Street and London Street are good places for nightlife. Can you tell me which one is better? The blatant mention of nightlife by the Duke of Paleta, who was seated with his young commoner lover, was truly remarkable. The servant answered politely, sniffling his nose. The distance between the two places is not so far, but Lemlin Street is too low class for your grace to visit, your grace. Oh, a low class place. Very good. You must know how low class it is compared to the capital. Since the distance is close, I must visit both. Thank you for answering. ... The servant lost his words and withdrew, and it was clear what report he would make to Baron Wilhelm. My assistant's intuition was correct. Kishir closed the book given by Pruel, smiling. Among the 4 candidates, it seems we have now determined which one to examine first. Given today's explosion, it will be chaotic for a while, making it a good time to investigate. I have already instructed Nathan about that part. After all, Kishir had initially found Red Deer Consortium suspicious and had intended to investigate it thoroughly. It had seemed strange from the beginning, from the younger brother of Baron Wilhelm acting suspiciously while guiding them to the basement to the suspected associates causing the explosion after first inspecting the place. All these actions suggested that the ordinary building was very far removed from the explosion. The fact that Courage Street and Lemlin Street were close together was merely the final nail in the coffin. If we find out what was hidden in that building, we can move on to capturing decisive evidence against House Stain. How far had Nahan and his associates searched the building through the explosion? Looking at Baron Wilhelm, not yet asking for help from Kishir and the cavalry, it was clear that they hadn't been severely affected, but it was likely only a matter of time. Well, let's wait for the new news coming in tomorrow. Kishir smiled and leaned back comfortably in his chair. The next day, Nathan Zuckerman, who had secretly inspected the explosion site all day, sat in front of Kishir and began his report. The Awakeners, who had infiltrated the Tennu security management team, headed straight to the prison, and I'm told they didn't touch anything there. Weren't there injured soldiers and prisoners? They suffered wounds when caught in the effects of the intruders using their abilities to break the encirclement, but I heard their lives were not in danger. I see. What about the main building? The damage there was more severe than when I first heard the news. Nathan Zuckerman found it difficult to examine closely, as the Tennu Knights and soldiers had surrounded the main building of the Red Deer Consortium with multiple layers, guarding it like a fortress. However, he reported that he could confirm the appearance of a large hole in the wall even from outside. The scorched earth and walls gave the impression that a tremendous force had exploded within. I took advantage of the confusion when the main business was suspended and briefly infiltrated last night. I found that the second floor safe, which I couldn't open because of a spell, was shattered. All its contents were gone. And? I couldn't enter the basement because there were many guards, but I was able to get a sense of the situation through the conversations they were having. The soldiers guarding the basement shivered as they talked about the nightmarish intruders. Among those who had invaded the main building, there was a man with a strange power. Some soldiers who had locked eyes with him fell, screaming involuntarily, unable to move a finger, in a tale that seemed like a weird rumor. However, this seemed to have failed to completely breach the magic around the interior and escaped halfway. If they broke the safe, I believe they safely acquired the information inside. I see. Then the next move is coming soon, Kishir replied with a thoughtful expression. You have done well, Nathan. Don't approach either side too closely. Keep watching the situation. And next, inspect the locations marked in this book as well. Understood. Ah, and don't forget to bring chocolate cookies the next time you come to report. Understood. The response came somewhat a bit slower than before. Before leaving the room, Nathan Zuckerman stared at Yether for a long time, then exhaled deeply and turned his head. Rest. And another day of reckless play continued. Some members who had been working with Ever went out and returned often under the pretext of playing outside. But since there were also many members who genuinely went out to play, no one was suspected. Those who had been rescued from the prison in a state of memory loss were kept hidden, cared by Priest Lusan with the help of the members. Once cleaned and cared for in a safe place, their fits noticeably decreased, but their condition did not improve enough to engage in conversation. I have been under the influence of a mind-altering power myself, so I feel that one's own will is essential to break free from it. But creating that will require a stable environment and time. I don't think they will improve in a short time, but I want to make sure they get better. Having been struck by Nahan's power, Lusan was more dedicated than ever to the treatment of those who had lost their memories. Perhaps it was because of his efforts that they saw the light. Not long after, while Kishir had briefly left to meet Pruel, Lusan came with glad tidings, and Yether was led by his hand to the room where the memory lost were staying.